So far, the targets we observed and backtested have met with absolute accuracy. Interestingly enough, our upper bound targets also met after the dividend split taking effect. Congratulations is in order if you took advantage of our play. Let's go over the stats because this run may not be done for LQR. Welcome back to the channel on this happy Monday. This is ARCa, and let's dive into episode 3 of Microcap Mondays. Let's kill them. What is up, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and always finesse that algorithm so we can get some more viewers and more listeners, right? Let's go ahead and dive into ticker symbol LQR here, right? So the image that you are observing right over here is actually the YouTube stream from last night, right? So we were explaining here our target, the succession of our target number one at $3.21 right in this area here, right? So this was spoken of when we were around the areas of about $2.68, $2.50, right around in here. So we got that breakout retest of the top area, conversion of resistance into support, bounce to the upside, converted the $3 mark that we were observing here as a multi-day weekly resistance, converted that into support and bounced to the succession of our take profit range and psychological price objective of the descending broadening wedge of $3.21, where it reached an eventual $3.28 top before retracing, right? So now we were waiting for this was Friday, right? We were waiting for the total valuation after the dividend split. So we needed to see where the price action would be after in relations to the, to the addition of the supply, right? So it did happen, right? Price action came down to where it needed to be, but we also explained upper bound targets that we were observing. One of them being 350, another being 404, and our max topside target was around the 425 area at the 4.618, roughly about $4.18. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get rid of this chart here. I wanted to just show you how this looked before we actually got the change in the chart, right? So this is now what it looks like right over here with the adjusted target. And you can see here that this is the green candle that reached all the way to the area of where it would be $4.18. It actually surpassed it just a little bit, and it came straight to the top of our range, which could have been an equivalence of about $4.25 around there, right? So it did meet our every bound here, and this, man, it was just an awesome play, right? So now I did run the statistics because we definitely have people holding here, right? We definitely have other people holding the asset. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I can show you is a set of information from a historical volatility in linear backtest against stochastic momentum. And I already have the upside targets here. These are all the iterations that are measured here, historically speaking, from the beginning of the trading of this asset, right? So what I will say before we continue here, okay, you must know that these are statistics. They are not certainties, okay? There are targets presented here that may or may not happen, okay? Secondly, statistically speaking, to create a true habit, you would need iteration counts of up to 140 iterations. We are observing here a total of 8 iterations, historically speaking. That's all we have available, right? 4-hour chart here, LQR, beginning of the trading was right back here, right? So, and that being, let's see, yeah, it looks like it IPO'd about 5 a.m., Pacific time on August 10th, 2023. So there is not that much data, but we have what we have and we work with what we got. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the stats now. This is a historical linear volatility versus stochastic momentum backtest, which factors in the breaking outside of the volatility component against the moving average outside of the 15th percentile with an upside pivot over the span of the entire trading history on the 4-hour chart with an upside bias, okay? So we can see here that we have 8 total iterations, right? Out of those 8, 1 was incorrect. So that means that the 7 iterations were guessed correctly to the upside. This gives us an average upside accuracy of 87.5%, with an average upside thrust of about 88.40%. Okay, now, since we are on the 4-hour chart, this means that it could be realized within just a few days, or if not one day, depending on volatility, right? Okay, now, I did go further to calculate deeper stats, right? So I went into the standard distribution curve and I calculated the standard deviation. Now, the standard deviation is said to move 100.33% to the upside, which is the higher performers in the standard distribution curve, right? The 68% of the returns right on top, right? So this is what's said, right? Now, I also calculated the upper and lower bounds of the first and second standard deviation just in case, in the weirdest and of normal rarities, right? We we combat and we beat the top side of $4.01. This is speaking. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna go ahead and go over the signal, right? Because the signal has not fired. We definitely need volatility to at least touch the 90%. Okay, it needs to at least touch that 90% and retrace in order for us to get the clean go ahead for the firing of this signal. Okay, so that may happen in the after hours. It may happen intraday tomorrow somewhere, but just know that that is a factor and it is a condition which is critical to the criteria here. Okay, so now the upper bound, when you get negative values like this, you can't use them, right? You can't use them in the stats. Although they're plotted here, it's just we're testing the upside here. Those negative values are unusable. So now the upper bound of the first standard deviation is leading to a 188.73% upside, followed by an upper bound of 289.06% to the upside of the second standard deviation. Okay, so you can see how obviously these targets are, really outlandish, and they probably I don't, anything can happen in the markets. I'm not going to, give the markets that, right? But in my personal perspective, even these targets feel a little tough, right? So if we were to observe the mean, that would be a bounce to $3.77 if we fired the signal from the target of $2. Okay, but the signal has not fired off just yet. It's very, very, very close. Okay, now the 100.33% of the standard deviation would lead to a target of $4.01. And just in case you're curious, right? You notice how I didn't even put it there as a plot because it's not a target that I'm particularly fond of, right? So I mean, I guess we could, right? 188% would lead price action to about, let's see, that would be right about here. Oh my goodness, these I guess that would do 188.83, 188.73, tomatoes. It's all good. So we would look to 578, and I'm not going to do the 289, right? So it's just way up there. It doesn't matter, right? So anyway, those would be the upper bound targets of LQR if we did fire off this signal. Now, again, 140 iterations is usually what creates habit in statistics. In this case, we only have 8 total iterations, of which 7 were guessed correctly to the upside. So that's not bad, right? But I will say one thing. Please know that this is completely, there's a lot of variance here, okay? There is certainly a lot of variance. We have a complete backtest here starting from 1% to the upside. This is a thrust from the firing of the signal here, right? Touching that 90% of the volatility read up here and contracting with an upside bias. That had a 1.37% upside. Right, the second iteration here had a 9.35. The third had 248. Right, we have a 4.92 there. We have a 237 there. We have a 66 there, a 51 there. Now, the reason why I didn't exclude the 200% iterations is because it's paired. So it's not an outlier. So we have a pair of 237. We have a pair of the above 50. Right, this is 51, 66. We have the pairs of the 1% and the 4%. So I mean you can see here, right? That everything is kind of bonded together nicely. So I will have to count it, right? So those are the statistics. That's what's currently being said right here by the charts, right? And you know what? As far as the immediate short-term 4-hour time frame, I can see clearly why the price action dropped. Right, we definitely have a 4-hour time frame. Bearish buy formation, right? This is a huge shooting star formation with a bearish engulfing, and I guess it would be a trifecta here because we definitely have an outside bar, red bar at that, right? So yeah, technically speaking, we would face some downside here. I am still looking for support, for a support bottom down at the golden pocket, which is where we kind of bounced from to create the new upside all the way into that, all the way into the target of about $2.13. The equivalence of I forgot what it was, right? So let's the equivalence of right at about $3.15, right around here is kind of where that would be taking us, right into this zone here, right? So yeah, that's what we used here to bounce. I mean, we used the golden pocket to bounce from this area into that 315 is what I'm saying. So I think that there could be a support bottom to observe there. So let's go ahead and just look at one more thing here and observe the daily time frame ATR, right, which is the average true range in a daily perspective. So this is 30 cents, 30 and a half cents is what it can move during any day's price action, right? So 30 cents would definitely take this to maybe $2.70 if it does open around there, right? So I'm sorry, $2.70. $1.70, right? So you can actually see that it is viable information for us to drop into the area of around 188, right? So sure, it could still drop right around these support bottoms. In fact, $1.70 at the very bottom here is literally the bottom support down here. Okay, so keep an eye on that, right? I'm going to go ahead and just draw the line here in case there is a further downside. This would be the full measured ATR, right? This would be the full measured average true range, and then it could come back up. So whether it has an upside or not, that means that 30 cents, it could also be to the upside. So $2.30 is literally right up here. So it could take us to $2.32 of the 2.618. So it is absolutely correlated to the price action that we have displayed here, right? So that would be the span of 231 to 235 to the upside. Now, I guess based on what I'm observing here, there could be a full circle move, right? Whether it be first to the upside and then to the downside, or first to the downside and then to the upside. Okay, so it really depends on how sentiment feels about this, but something tells me it's going to be a really volatile day, seeing that tomorrow will be the first day that the dividend shares can be unlocked and they can be sold, right? So please be very careful in the markets and definitely take all the information provided here with a grain of salt. And I will add the ARCa Bulls trading team link to the description in the description below. So please consider joining the ARCa Bulls trading team and trade alongside some very, very talented traders along myself every day, right? So I do appreciate everybody for observing here and for looking. But this is it. You know where to reach me if you have any questions. But I wish you well, a very good night, and I'll catch you, mañana. Please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be cool. But with that said, team, I wish you well, and a very, 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 very good night. And I promise I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios, team. Oh, yeah.